Michael is on his way, I believe. But I didn't want to leave you hanging for too long. So, how is everybody? So, this is the last Thursday of March, I think. And we are down to the wire on the Horsemanship Challenge. And I have 2 rides to go. So, I might see about knocking those out. I did get all my hours in at the clinic last weekend. So, it was really fun. And have a few things on my mind. One of them is, so some of you guys know this has been my conundrum over the last while, is the fact that my horses are getting, um what's the word, uh, more and more finely tuned to me, which I feel like that's the goal, right? And we've heard all the master horsemen say the farther along you are, the less your horses are going to be able to get along with other people. Here, let's add Michael so he can jump in on this idea. We're live. Michael Sparling. I just jumped in a little bit right away.
A little bit on time. I was a little bit late. Sorry.
That's okay. You're frozen, so that's my larger concern.
Yeah, I'm not frozen on my side. Can you hear
Oh,
me anyway?
yep, I can hear you, and there you go. You're good. Well, it's all right because I had aspirated peanut butter, so I was like a little choky.
While starting the show or just before? You started a little late on account of it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Good morning, Corey. Good morning. Long time no talk. So Michael,
Yeah.
you got my voice memo.
Yeah.
Hmm. So what's on? I was just the one thing I was just saying. I'll just finish my thought. Just trying to say what's a little bit on my mind because I was playing with Revlon last night, and it's like, you know, the whole thing. Uh, yeah, thank you, sir. It's one of those, you get the eyes watering. So, there's actually several people that I could name that I really respect that are top riders from all different sports, and they all say the farther along you get, the less other people are going to be able to slot in with your horses. Now, that doesn't mean they should be orangutans or anything like that, obviously. And there has to be some minimums, etc. But I keep coming up against the intellectual inconsistency of this perception that if you do a good job with your horse and if you are advanced in your horsemanship, then anybody will be able to operate your horse. With the finer and the more subtle you become, the less it's going to relate to the next person.
Yeah.
And it seems like we're all saying we want to refine, 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 be more on. Everyone's like, oh, I want my horse on a field. And it's like, but do you though? See, if you really do, you have to let go of the idea that everyone else is going to be able to operate your horse the same as you.
Yeah.
So, more and
Well, to
more.
what degree though is it the rise and fall? Like the horse will, you know, settle to the level of
Mhm.
the individual. Like the back and forth is tricky. I was talking to someone about that the other day. Like you can get a horse really operating pretty fine and then someone comes in and it just lots of inconsistencies show up and um the horse is allowed to be a little sloppy and then the person who's been working so hard at getting them really put together, or if the horse has some time off and has also had some poor riding, it's like, okay, now we gotta kind of reset here, and it takes a few rides for the horse to really buy in again, slot in, get rid of those kind of like, oh, maybe I can push a little here. Um, that's pretty tricky. And I think certainly a horse can, dip to someone's level, but yeah, certainly the finer it is, the more, depending on the horse, the more the horse can be like, you aren't clear at all. Not like I was starting to understand things. Like, this is just as muddy as things will get. Um, and depending on the horse, that can be upsetting. Other
Yeah.
horses, it can be
They-
frustrating. You
mhm.
know.
Mad or scared or upset or whatever.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
But
And
I'm
some are just like whatever, and they just kind of slot right into the new version of normal, and they get along.
sorry. I gotta just handle some. Yeah. Here. Um. Good morning, you guys. Eva, Emily. Good morning. Who else did I miss? There. Yeah.
That's it.
Uh, Katie. Good morning. I was thinking about you guys this morning. Yeah, Michael. So I guess what, and I'm so glad if you have something else, let's just shorten this topic. But also, I do think that this is kind of interesting if we continue to tease out some of what we're thinking about because one of the things because these are I'll just tell you like the different pieces and then you could maybe help me. So one of them is riding that horse that I did at your place and talking about moving to a specific room, right? With that horse, like it's like yes, we're in the room that I in my idea, and this is the whole game, and now we're sitting at the table together, and now we can basically run the world, right?
Hmm.
And then there's a bunch of different problems with that in terms of just relating to other people. It's like at a certain point, if you can't get the people that you're interested in talking to about horsemanship to that room, what do you have to talk about? Because you are like maybe in the same corridor, but the rooms are completely different, right?
Hmm.
And so that's the part where and you know a person could struggle, and I would say I am not particularly good at talking to someone in another room. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to think about it. I don't want to like I just don't have any because perhaps I'm like struggling so hard to stay in the room, to think about the room, to do a good job of it. You know what I mean? So I think there are other people who do a better job, perhaps, of interacting, you know, across the and I hope that the girls who rode with me last weekend would say you did a fine job. But then on the other hand, I would say probably a lot of them are heading into that room too. Um, and so that's one tiny little data point. The other thing is, once again, there are different ways to think about uh the horse coming you know meeting a person where they are on the level that they are and then you know the oscillation and some horses handle it better than others, you know, but the idea of purposefully keeping what you're doing more generic, which sometimes is required. Okay, I get that. And see that this is my problem, Michael. When I talk about these things, I think that people hear it in a judgmental way. And the part that I am judgmental about is not, in fact, other people's choices or skill levels or whatever. But what I am judgmental about, and you know, is my number one peeve is intellectual inconsistency. I just can barely tolerate it. Like I need a pill to handle it.
And so describe intellectual inconsistency, because my brain immediately goes to things you could be referencing there. What do you
Uh,
think?
something as simple like well, let's just stay on topic is like, oh, I want this refinement. I want this feel. You know, people are always talking about it. But then it's like, but everyone should be able to handle my horse. And
Mhm.
you know, and it's like that is an intellectual inconsistency to me. Yeah, and maybe you're saying, well, you can have this amount of refinement and it will carry. Okay, but it's like, are we going to stop there where the horse is good and can operate for everybody else? Because you know the deal.
Well, I mean, you can't define a feel operating on a feel. So one's experience of operating on a feel today is different than what it might be, 4 months from now, a year from now. And so at this point they're like, "Oh my gosh," and my horse can operate so much better for someone. And yes, this is possible, but the further down that you get, it might to you to someone who's like I wouldn't put very many people on rooster. Like you got to know what you're doing, otherwise, like it's just going to be too much horse, like straight up, and he's feeling too many things. And Digamo, the same thing. Like just he expects things to be clear. Now, would they kind of slot in? Yes, but Digamo, there's going to be some worry. Rooster, you're kind of on the verge of maybe getting more than you asked for. Well, not maybe. You would get more than you meant to ask for if you asked too much, because he's just ready to put in that kind of effort, wants to. So I think I lost my train of thought, but
Well, okay, so
basically, you can, depending on where you are in your level of refinement, imagine it carrying to everyone else on the level you are
okay.
at, right? At a certain point, and again, it depends on the person you're expecting it to carry to, and it depends on the horse, like how much, you, like how much you can even imagine that person can offer, right? I think it's as much dependent on the person as the horse. So there's a couple horses, not throwing names out right now, but one who I know she's going back to an owner who maybe doesn't do quite what we do, but I know she has feel based on how the horse came to me and her level of riding, the questions she's asking, what she's seeing, and what I'm doing. Like, even if I just get the first 30, 60 days on her, not you know 20 something, 30 rides, she's gonna just be able to take it from there slowly but surely. Others, or another specifically in mind, horse is chill, and that horse is kind of a spitfire, but if we get through some of that and like get her understanding, get her calm, like she'll be fine. Another one, chill as can be, like it's gonna be easy, but the owner is not super skilled. Like, not, I don't think they have any real idea of any sort of consistent way of communicating with the horse outside of just having a horse that's kind of already robotic, or just cueing the horse into things, I guess, like kind of riding as if the horse is a robot, even if the horse isn't, you know.
Just a really good robot
Yeah,
is just a really good robot.
yeah, exactly. So, I guess there, maybe the horse gets along better if you treat it like a robot from the beginning.
Yeah, I agree.
And so then maybe that makes that more translatable because the owner has a lot less um, to offer the horse in terms of feel. And even though it's kind of a easygoing horse, you put a lot of feel in there that's not super obvious. I don't know, obvious isn't the right word. That's not kind of just telling the horse what to do. Then the person starts telling the horse what to do, and the horse is like, "Whoa, what is this?" And everything's faster and cruder and all that. So even though that horse is more chill, I see that horse having a harder time transitioning into like a just seamless life with the owner, based on the owner's experience more than the personality of the horse or what you can put into the horse in 60 days. So that in a way, the owner's the wild card a lot of times.
Oh, well, I mean, the owner is always the wild
Yeah.
card, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
You know,
But the point being, at to a certain point, your horse gets quite refined. That's translatable that's available for a while, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Unless at a certain point, like the discrepancy between what the horse has been accomplishing with the rider that is more skilled, more refined, and the person who's trying to step in and put a ride on, experience something, or take this horse home and go to town with it and just get to riding. The greater that discrepancy, the the more difficult it is for the horse, and some more than others. Like if the one that's more been more reactive and fractious, if I don't get through that, even though her rider is more skilled, um, she doesn't ride the way we do. Like I don't know quite how she's going to ask this horse to operate right off the bat, but I know she's going to have feel in whatever she does. So you kind of trust that they're gonna find each other. Um, but if I don't do a good enough job and there's still that fractious piece in there, then she could get in trouble with that, even though she has some skill. And that's why the horse is here because she doesn't want to deal with the risk factor. And she doesn't all of her experience, she has enough experience to know this one's more than I've worked with before. And I don't quite know how to get through this, not just safely for me, but effectively for my horse.
Mhm. Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I might be talking circles here, but
No, but I do that one. So there's just different layers to this that that I haven't had to parse out, and these things always come out and where I'm having to defend myself or like figure out like where it's like I cannot talk. That like there are some like roadblocks to even having certain conversations at a certain point, right? Because it's like I mean, Michael, how many people could I describe working in a different room to and have them have a fucking clue as to what I'm saying?
well, that's there and so many times on the show. I'm going, I know exactly what you're talking about, and this is not just disparaging anyone else,
Oh,
or especially those of you that have been with us on the show for years now, or doing clinics with us. Um, but there's so many times I'm like, I don't know if anyone else is following because I feel like I'm mind melding with you. Like I know exactly what you're saying, but I'm going, I only know what you're saying because of the shared, the years of us talking and talking frequently enough that it's just we are I kind of know where you're headed or know what you're describing. So
and
yeah, I mean I get that. And you have to have like been a part of that conversation to like go on that journey together and evolve to that spot together.
it takes a certain personality type, I would say too, to some
Yeah.
degree, you know. So Wendy, so I would say good morning. Julie, good morning. Susan, good morning. Lisa, good morning. Um,
Emily, good morning.
I think I said good morning.
Oh, maybe you did. Sorry.
Um, oh,
Certain personality type.
well, who was I talking to? Who the hell was I talking to? Oh, Deanna and Riley. It's fun because Riley's been coming along, right? So and and anyway, we were talking about Horsemanship Insider, and um, I just said I was just shaking my head, just laughing. Wendy and I had a little bit of this discussion too, but this is what I said to Riley and Deanna and Amber because I was like, you know, in the end, it could end up just being you and me, literally you and me, because now hopefully not, but this is what
I don't
I
think
said
so.
to those girls is like I feel like I'm finally getting off the chain. But like, hear the words I'm saying. When you say, "Look, like, you are off the chain," it's like, that is what I've always wanted. But then there's no thread back to reality. There's no responsibility. There's no okay. So regardless, that was just funny. And the girls are looking at me like this, but like they can kind of follow
Mhm.
because, anyway, they have been around. But here is um I guess I was go ahead.
Just someone
I've
was
always
telling.
wanted to be
So,
off the chain. That is
um,
my point. Is
well,
like
someone was just telling another person, "Oh yeah, Michael does a show with Emma every week, and you should tune in." And I didn't want to say anything, but and then he asked about it. I'm like, "Yeah, because he asked, well, do you describe these things and show examples?" I'm like, "Well, first of all, it's a podcast. It's not like educational videos, so no, there's not." Like demonstrating how to do a hindquarter yield on the show. But it's like I said, there's going to be philosophy that would be valuable to you. And but at the same time, I'm going, you're not going to follow most of this, right? But, I did say tune in and listen and no.
don't be we are not going to be offended if you're like, what the fuck, forget it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah. It
So
sounds so condescending,
it
but
does. And I don't like saying it. And it's not that way at all
not not
because it's everyone is where they are. And, like you say, it's
and it's not necessarily better. I guess is it's not about being better. It's just the same thing as we're talking about with the horses. Is as it becomes more unique and more refined and more specialized, then it's like the very definition of that will just mean that it becomes more individual.
yeah. Well, and even just operating within the language, like just start out in the basic language of the rectangle and like kind of the curriculum that we've learned from Buck and that just so much of what we do hangs on or um, rises from. It's the
Yep.
opposite, hangs from and rises from. And um, like if you don't have that framework, we got to catch you up on a bunch of things for you to even like you said, we're in a different room. Who's going to understand what the hell that means? But when you even say the rectangle, what the hell does that mean if you don't know, right? And that's not right or wrong or good or bad. You just don't know it yet. And then to engage in the conversation that we're having, it is quite specialized, even though it is so broadly applicable, like
Hmm.
to get the most of it, the most out of it, you have to be kind of there along the way having that conversation or be
Yeah.
caught and that was the other part I was thinking is you can so you let's say you take someone who just no experience doesn't understand a rectangle, no framework for reaching a foot. I mean, that's like a given to us to connect to a foot, and so many people just they ride just by putting the arc in the horse and then hoping the arc connects to the feet. And if it doesn't, they block the outside rein or, you know, like it's just not thinking about a foot. Well, I can imagine doing anything without that. Right. So to bring someone from not understanding what we do at all, like completely new to them, completely foreign, like kind of what are the stages or maybe if there aren't even stages what is the like they one can only take in so much information at once and there's the philosophy components, the technical components, the academic components of you know what the horse should what we're looking for in terms of balance. And you kind of just throw out these little pieces in terms of philosophy, and you provide information in terms of technical things and help guide them to it, and then they, oh, I felt that, okay, that, and there's like little flickers, back to the flame analogy, little flickers of, oh, okay, hmm, and they either catch interest enough that they keep back for more, or they take that and use that, and it breathes into what they're doing on some level, and then maybe they forget about it because they haven't ridden for a while and they're off doing something else that's, you know, on a trail ride, and that's what they've always done, and so they're not thinking about these technical things they learned, they're just not applying them, and then they come back, do the clinic, it's like, oh yeah, yeah. And so sometimes it catches and other times it doesn't, and but when someone really is excited about that spark and is looking for more after just little, I don't know, you can tell. I feel like I can tell. Like this person, there's a good chance they're gonna get into this. And this person, like they're interested, they're trying, but either I have to do my best to help them feel something that's like, oh, and I kind of have some specific things, and I'm like, if I can get them to feel this, it's gonna be one of those hits that's like, ooh, I need more of that. But or just to offer some piece of the philosophy of working with the horse and having the horse move their own body, all of the all of those components, the principles that they go, huh, that makes sense. I hadn't thought of it that way. And that's the spark. It's like, okay, well that now I'm gonna think about everything differently. I can't unlearn that. And now that's going to kind of plague me when I'm not operating that way, if it's only just in the very back of my mind, you know. And that can be the spark that kind of gets someone asking more. But
And that's a
unless that spark catches, like
mm,
what we're talking about is always going to be a little bit foreign because it is its own specialization basically, in terms of it has its own language and its own like shared ideas and goals and um, all of that. That's not like exclusionary, but you do have to like kind of be interested in it and pursue it, right?
and I think
Like,
that is a large pool of people compared to this um other little way I'm thinking of it. I think what you're talking about is probably a large
well, the
uh,
pool shrinks, right? But
yeah,
if the more, like you say, the more refined it gets, if you're looking for this refinement, like, and then expecting your horse to, you know, if I get my horse at this level, it'll work for anyone.
which is the stated definition for most people. Would you guys agree with that? So anyone who's
Yeah.
you guys and
Okay.
and this
Yeah.
is just fact finding. There's no right or wrong. Just okay. These are just this is not a hierarchy of answers like right or wrong. Would you say that part of the definition of a well educated horse is that anyone can handle them and anyone can ride them, at least rudimentarily?
But then the question is for how long, right?
Oh, but just at all. Let's just get to the point where it's like at all. Not necessarily that it can be maintained, because that
Mhm.
we all know that that is just not a real thing.
No.
It's like, no, it's not going to. Sarah says, Michael, you just summed up the past year for me, and I feel confident to speak for mom too. Having so much fun learning. Aw, yeah. You can tell being around you guys.
Yeah.
Mhm. Oh,
So yeah. I mean, think of the Merlin the bullfighting horse, like that video? Can you imagine anyone getting on that horse? Like you or I getting on that horse and attempting to do anything? Like forget it. That horse is so tuned to, I forget the guy's name, the rider, that like there's, if anything is off just the
On the
littlest
horse.
bit, the horse is gonna be like, "What the? That was way too much pressure." Or what? Your leg is in an entirely different spot. That means something entirely different than what you think you're maybe trying to say. I mean, it's just like not a chance,
You might
right?
not be able to get on that horse.
Yeah,
Like
and the horse is the
100
horse is
still to get on.
what's that?
Literally, it wouldn't stand still to get on.
Oh
It's
yeah.
possible, you know?
Well, but probably would for the owner. I mean, I don't know. I mean, the horse is tuned, but it also doesn't mean he can't walk away and have the horse come right down after like about
Hey,
the most intense amount of energy.
yeah.
I don't know. At the end of the video, he's walking off and the horse doesn't look jacked
Oh,
up. He's sure.
no, no, no. That's not what I'm saying. Right? Because for him, he could maybe go on a trail ride, pack a little baby.
Yeah, exactly.
Guy is there, the baby can be on the horse. Like, this is
Yeah.
a different situation.
But you or I or really anyone that's not in that sort of, I mean, it's an intimate relationship at that point. That is whispering, yeah, I mean, evoking everything that horse has
Mhm.
just from your insides, just from your thoughts, just from, I mean, I just can't even imagine. I mean, obviously can't imagine. This is just freaking insane. Um Riding on that level with that power in that, I mean,
You have to have been that before you get on that horse.
yeah,
Just get on that horse and be like, I'm gonna match this horse. So you
yeah.
like, but this is my point, you guys. So we have some answers. So Lisa says yes, that would be my goal to have anyone be able to ride my horses. That's a great goal, right? Julie says well educated versus is very different than specialized. Okay, well, let's talk more about that. And Lisa agrees with that. Uh, Katie's Katie says no, correct? Maybe a few more words. Michael said relationship. I think that's the key word. Julie's point, which is spot on, thinking getting on one that is, for example, spur stop trained, and someone who has no clue they're doing can't operate them. Yeah, spur stops. I have to say,
Or just
one of the
riding differently. Finish what you're saying. I won't forget.
okay, but because this is important, you guys, and this is where like right even right now, I don't feel like I'm communicating my point to you guys. Like even right now. I mean, you're answering the question that I said, but I'm still struggling to describe or to explain what I'm saying. Okay, which is not the most important thing. I'm just gonna try one more time. Okay, so here's the thing. Like, let's say with Revlon, because she's gonna be visiting with someone else for a little while here, and it's gonna be fine, because the person is super handy. But it's like I wonder because I mean I could put, and I'm thinking, should I put a compilation together of all the things that she and I have done just to prove like she can do all this stuff? I mean, I don't know, you know. But what's the point? But this is what I was thinking about this morning is the reality is she may not in fact be educated to what anyone else is going to do because I'm not teaching her generic things.
Mhm.
It's all dependent on this feel. So if we think about it that way, we think about the fact that, and that's what, of course, for me, I was talking to my dad who loves me and appreciates horses, but he's not a horse guy. Um, but it's funny because he gets at times what I but my comment to him was like it's like such a funny place to be in because like for instance, everyone's like everybody has a little bit of a different answer, but I'm standing here going, Yeah, but this has been my dream. Like, if I stop to think about it, this is my dream. That the feel is the thing, and everything else just comes about because you're on a feel.
Hmm.
Not that you educated the things and then you put the things on a feel. And that, so, but the
To
problem
You
with
educate the things to get the feel gets the things. Yeah.
and the problem with that is then it definitely is not transferable. Because by definition, the way I move, the way I think, the way I breathe, the way I smell, the way blah, 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 all the stuff, if that's all the horse has ever learned, and then it's like I don't know, putting on a suit or I don't know. Like you have to put on the feel first, even though that hopefully that just becomes a part of like you walk into the pen with the horse, and that's what my farm sitter, they cannot even touch my horses. I told you that they can't even halter them. So when Feather and Prim were loose and they came running up to me and they heard the story, there was like, is that true? And it's like, yeah, I mean, but and so my point is that it's like that doesn't I don't think that that means that the horses aren't gentle, but it would be a total recalibration completely if a person is going to be like, I'm going to get you to do these things exactly as you said so that we can get on a feel. Because even like a year ago I would a little bit say that, and I have to think more deeply about, is that how I did it? Like Revlon's a good example, but like I was in Davina's stall the other day. Michael knows Davina. Michael started Davina. um and I'm just cleaning her stall and I put my hand on her hip and like shocked, because and then she looks at me and then she, recalibrate. But the bottom line is somebody abruptly moved her over, which then she had to learn in that moment, versus the person probably had no lead up to that, right? Where hopefully when I walk into a stall with a horse I've lived with, there's a whole situation going on before I even need her to move a foot.
Hmm.
So that's a horse that's not just for me. But like Kip and I were out there working fences and Prim's just all snuggly, you know. But guess who was able to ride Prim no problem? Took him a second to recalibrate. Guess who?
No idea.
John. She came with me to Dayton. So I was like rider, big rodeo arena. But anyway, and so I was like, Kip, look, she's so snuggly. And he looks at me like, are you out of your ever loving mind? That's not a label you give the horse. And then I'm like, well, but is it though? I mean, does that mean, oh, the horse isn't, it's fake because it only applies to me? That's what I'm kind of getting at, because I think that's the implication, is the horse isn't trained, which is sort of true. Do you know what I mean? It's like if it doesn't transfer to everybody, then it's not real. And if you look at it through a certain prism, that is true because the horse isn't educated at all under certain circumstances. Now,
Hmm.
they will have, hopefully, they might not be super scared of the saddle, or they're not going to never have seen a trailer before or whatever. Okay. But on the other hand, it's like if this is the way you've operated, then truly they don't have the education. And so, and I'll stop talking because we got to read some comments. But then, you guys, okay, so that's one way you can look at it from either way. But this is where I'm at in my personal, journey right now, because I have to consider this. Am I in fact not educating my horses? Is that fair to my horses? And yet, on the other hand, it's like, what's the alternative?
Yeah, because
I don't want
you're
some.
you're disinterested if that's what it is.
Yeah, and it's like, well, what do I want? Because of course I don't want anybody else to touch my horses except for like, a very few. I would like them to be able to catch them in an emergency. But if there were no emergencies, then it's like I'm not just gonna have somebody thrash around on them and do like, okay, so even somebody really really good, let's just say, if they're just super skilled at getting horses to do things, I don't even want them looking at my horse. Don't even look at her. Don't even look at her. I mean, you know what I'm saying? So I don't know what the well, you need to have more people handle your horses. That's a common thing. And this is the conventional wisdom, you guys. So I realize I am one of maybe zero other people. But it's like
He's off the chain for sure.
off the chain, which is where I wanted to be all along. But it's like that's the last thing I want, because what I've always dreamed of is what's happening now.
Mhm.
So how can I justify that? How can I, you know, do I have to justify myself? Should I feel shame because people around me that just don't even know what I'm talking about? I mean, I don't know. So
Well, before the comments, a couple things. One, you're gonna share your spouse that we've heard before, right? It's this intimate relationship where you're just gonna be like, okay, here you go. You guys hang out together now. That'd be one. And then the other, I don't know if you've met Miriam, probably Miriam Hunt at some point. Growing up in
oh, I think so. Estonia.
yes, where is she from?
Estonia.
Estonia, yes, thank you. Um, it was escaping me. She grew up basically sleeping in the barn with the horses. Like she would sleep in the stall. Like you, you hear of someone growing up with the wolves, right? Like I don't know if there's documented that actually happened, you know, nonfiction accounts of that. I imagine there are, but you've certainly heard fictional accounts of someone like basically growing up in the wild with the wolves. He's seen as one of the wolves. No one else is going to get in there and interact with those wolves the way he is. That's its own category of things. Yeah, you could say the wolf's not broke, like not anybody can do it. Well, does he care? Like, is that his goal to have this wolf be accessible to everyone, this wild animal? Probably not, right? Could he maybe, in theory, get to where the wolf could handle being around other people, but is still shy of other? I mean, think about dogs, right? Like that are super timid and they're like okay with their person or their group of people, but anyone else, like, I don't know. And so, like, everyone celebrates that getting better, and certainly that can't hurt, but that doesn't mean everyone's going to operate with that dog without a relationship with the dog. It's just not a thing, period. Right?
Yeah.
The dog can get comfortable with other people, but there's not going to be, um, I mean, people talk about it all the time with this horse. I had it for years, and you could read my thoughts, and I just want that with my new horse. And, they kind of are nostalgic for that.
That's the part.
So, in a way, that's kind of wanting. And that's not to say
No,
that that horse no one else could handle, right? But everyone is looking for that, like, it's all on a feel
it might
thing.
be generic if everyone can operate your horse. So, Lisa, I'm just saying, logically, I'm just saying, sorry, logically, there has to be a generic component to it if anyone can handle your horse. Okay, and we might say that's a good thing. But let's just say that is by definition part of it. So to whatever, let's just say move rooms. I was going to say rise above, but that's not necessarily a thing. Rise above. Although I would say that, I mean, if you talk about people that seem to have what I think that I would want, they all do say nobody can operate my horses. Or, they can kind of walk around on them or whatever, but they're not going to get them to, you know.
Hmm.
Um,
And again, it's the differential between the two individuals. Like, there's no way I'd get on Merlin. But if there's someone who had interned with, again, I don't remember the guy's name, and been riding bullfighting horses since they were 8, has a much better chance of getting on Merlin and accessing some of that, right? So it's what's your experience level and the world in which you're operating. Like, take someone who's riding cutting horses and tell them to go get on this Grand Prix dressage horse, and it's going to look weird. Like, they're not going to know how to communicate that. But you put someone who amateur but has been in training with good trainers, and they have a chance of accessing a higher percentage of what that horse can do, right?
unless,
Unless it's all on a
yes,
feel, right?
that's
But you still have more of a chance,
that's true.
right?
That's
Right?
true.
So we can't get away from that if we're talking about logical possibilities. Someone who's been riding bullfighting horses and is like interned with Merlin's owner, whatever his name, is going to
And
have a much better chance of riding.
yeah,
What's that?
it feeds the horse every day, grooms the
Yeah,
horse.
exactly. Right. Does that mean they have the feel? No, but that horse is going to be close enough that the horse is going to go, okay, I know this movement, right? So, but I mean, I get what you're saying. I mean, and it's the we better read the comments because I think there's a lot of things to
Yeah, I would
bounce
agree.
around up.
The Oh, there was something.
All right, we got to back up.
Never mind. I don't know. I'll think of it. Okay, so let's see. So hopefully they've
I'm
cleared up.
always scared to touch my screen, so you go back and read the comments.
Eva, you said yes. What does that mean? Oh, she does want people to be able to ride. Of course, you're going to ride for the public, so you better figure that out. Um, someone. Okay, so to Julie's point, which is spot on. I think of getting on one that is, for example, first. Oh yeah, someone else who doesn't have a clue. The only thing is, Sarah, like I've ridden horses that are spur stop trained. It's like not rocket science to figure out like, oh, I've got like, how you ride somebody else's horse. You're like, how do you ask for canter? Because everybody, it's not necessarily the same. So you gotta be like, what's your setup? What's your aid? Those are like pretty cut and dried things to say. But what if you never educated the horse to a specific canter aid? What if your horse is just such on a feel by the time you ride them and you're just like, oh, we're going to lope along? Well, there's no aid. And there's no education there. They're hooked on, they're in the rectangle, they just go.
Mm.
Okay, Lisa, yes, in a way, I do not expect anyone to be able to work with or ride my horses and get the same results. I do, but they should be able to do some basics for another person. Yes. Okay, so Katie says, okay, so then as a colt starter, for example, what is the goal? If the horse goes home and every cue is different, there is no feel, etc., is the goal to get them gentle? Oh, and I would say, like, from the colt starters, I know, Michael, you can speak for yourself, or anybody else who's colt starter can speak for themselves, but you got to ride them like an amateur, is what I've been told. You cannot ride a colt you're making for the public the way you would ride one you're making for yourself. That's what I've been told by colt starters who do it for a living. And a lot of times, I think people who want to have move into some real refinement don't try to do both. Michael can probably do it because he's so smart and educated, but I don't think. And you start colts for the public, Michael, but you know I won't
Well,
name any
my
names.
my question always is, like, to a degree, I how do you start them doing it any other way, right? Like
And
what? Why learn what we're learning? Okay, so why learn what we're learning?
if you're
Right?
not
Why
heading
pursue
that,
if you're not building it using that? Right? Why did I bother learning this? Maybe I just get on and I pull. Well, it's not going to work. There's a reason I'm starting the horse versus somebody else, right?
but
Especially this touchy one. But at what point then do you
uh,
go, okay, I've gotten it to this point. Now I have to basically, now that the horse, like kind of like Lisa's saying, you got him operating for you on a feel on a certain level, but you got to then go back to the basics and say, if this was a little bit more exaggerated or crude or, you know, little more reliant on or a little more leg, I don't know. I'm to me, I adjust it based on what I think the owner they're going back to is capable of.
but are you going to
Um,
do it the same you do it for yourself?
it depends.
Oh, okay, yeah, fair enough. Yeah, yeah. But okay, so if
With Farah, yes, because I think the owner will be able to utilize. I mean, basically, I don't know. What do you get? You get freely forward. You get light off the legs. You get supple and responsive. eh, You know,
and how did you get there?
yeah.
Mhm. But if you never tap unless you need to tap, and you never do the da, 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 unless you need to do the da, da, and if the horse is, generally, then at which point are you doing things that the horse
Well,
does not
I
need?
I
Besides,
don't I don't know that you're getting all of it without any application of pressure, right? Like without you're
but
not just going, there's a feel between us and like it all just comes together because I have a feeling.
right, this is a good
It's
point. This is a
like
very good point,
let's not go there because that's fairy tale land.
and no, and
Like,
it won't work.
you're only able to access the operating on a feel and it being so individualized that it's a feel following a feel if you have some technical skill to support moving in that direction,
Okay, but
right?
good.
So you get on a horse that has no experience whatsoever. You don't just walk in there and go connect to me and like
Okay, but
there is something moving around.
let me just give you an example though. The two examples that I think are valuable right now. Okay, let's take the average local colt starter.
Mhm.
Not average, a really good local colt starter who you know specializes in getting a horse gentle. Anybody can catch him, anybody can ride him. This is okay. Is that the goal? uh, which might be it is, or you want to go out there like that story about Tom Dorrance picking the unstarted, uncaught 2-year-old out of the field, and an hour later he's roping cows on him. Now, Tom probably could hash around enough that everyone in the world could ride that colt in 30 days. But is that the goal? Or is the goal to be so refined and, and whatever the hell he was, is that the goal?
Well, okay. So whether it is the goal or not that everyone could catch this horse, if you're going out catching this horse and roping on it, unstarted, roping off of it within, whatever, a couple hours at most. I don't remember what the lore is. And you do that a few days in a row, you better believe the horse is going to be able to handle more, like closer to someone else handling it
I don't
because
know.
it's
I don't I don't know. Maybe you're right.
I mean, hell, the horse has now had
Also,
ropes dragging off its ass. It can certainly tolerate more than it could when it had never been touched. It certainly goes, okay, this guy approached me. It's going to come to the next person with a little less apprehension.
maybe it is not.
And again, it depends on the horse.
I don't know. I guess I don't have anything else to say. I'm not convinced that that is true anymore.
All right. Somebody
Okay.
mark today because right now I'm not sure I am on the same page, but give me a month or two and I'll probably be like, yep, totally get it. I see.
Uh, okay, so Katie, back
I,
to you.
I don't know.
As a cold starter, this is the thing, Katie. As a cold starter, your freaking job is to get the horse ready for somebody else to ride.
Hmm.
That's your job. And you could do a good job. You could do an excellent job. You can do an extraordinary job. Okay. So as a cold starter, your job is not to do what I'm talking about doing, which is basically to have it so unique, so specialized, so close to nature, so that this is now my it's not that my goal isn't operable to other people. But I have, like, if I go back into the past where my bridle horses would operate and do operate for other people, or if I hand my horse to a person in a clinic, I'm 100% confident that that horse is going to be fine, but I'm right there and those horses are looking at me, and I'm not convinced that the same thing is going to occur if they go catch the horse and go to it. Okay, but if it's your job to get the horse ready for someone else, that's your job. You should do your job. Julie, I don't think we do a horse any favors by making them so specific to one person that they're not accessible to others. I'd want them to learn to reach back to the person to this is where this is the truth. Is it, huh? This is what I'm saying. Here's where we are. Is this is where we are in this moment. Because I think, Julie, I think that your sentiment is probably what
The
everybody,
majority.
yeah, I think I would say that that's what everybody else is gonna say too. And then I would just say that there is a moment here where I'm like, it might be true, but I'm gonna have to give shit up in order for that to occur. And in this moment, I am just dragging my feet to give up, because maybe it is the right thing to do. Because what if I die? Okay. That's and so, Julie, this the sentence that you wrote, I don't think we're doing the horse any favors by developing them in a way that you're the only person that I don't think that's probably realistic, because I think down the line, probably people could get by doing some things. But I do think I know,
It's what
but
I'm saying with Tom Dorrance. Like it's going to be more accessible
but
just by
but not,
virtue of the energy.
I don't
You're
know.
not gonna go out and rope the horse.
You might not be able to catch it. The chances are you being able to catch it is zero. So
Well,
yes, here we
I
go.
mean, we're talking how many days too. Like if he's been riding the horse now for 6 months, there's a better chance someone being able to catch it.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's true, but it's not a guarantee.
That's not- hmm.
So Lisa,
No,
especially,
I completely get it's not a guarantee. There's certainly wild horses that are still very much inclined toward their person
but
or very suspicious of about anyone who doesn't have the like
oh, here's
an
what. Okay, so
important.
though, because I think the horse that Tom that you're saying that the horse is more apt, has more knowledge, at least, of never even seeing a person or being touched by a person, no question. And probably the person is going to need to work at it. I would say that with any of my horses, a person works at it a little bit, 10 minutes, an hour, a couple days. Pretty much anybody's going to be able to get. It's not like, but is it going to work? No. They're going to have to hash around a little bit, and whatever field they have to eliminate or is different in order to get it done, that's that. So I suppose you're right. And Lisa says, of course, I totally agree. I want to know that my horses will be okay if I say there's an emergency and someone else has to handle my horses. Yep. She says they have to be able to adapt to the situation. Eva, so interesting. I love this conversation. Eva doesn't want to say what she thinks, but I'm very curious. You can tell me privately. Julie says, I think you can teach them to be adaptable and highly specialized, and they'll be better suited for life elsewhere, which could happen. And that's the problem, right, Julie? Is that we can't guarantee that. In my view, that's the only reason to waste what I'm talking about. Because you have to get this is I'm just saying from this vantage point
Vet and farrier.
up in order to accomplish that. That is what I'm saying.
Vet and farrier, right? Or I'm thinking of the gorilla at the zoo. They have their
But
person, but their person, it cannot be there 24/7. Their person maybe needs the support of another professional to handle or be around this gorilla. It's better than if no one had built the trust, but the gorilla is certainly suspicious of anyone other than their person, and their person dies, and the gorilla is now very, very sad. And the gorilla then has a very hard time bonding with the new person. I mean,
I was just thinking about this. I was at the rescue the other day, and one of the dogs, has just lost its owner after 15 years, and is so like is just thrashed emotionally, and he's glommed onto Joy. That's his only solace. And her point is, I need to get this dog adopted immediately so he doesn't have to have another disconnect,
mhm.
you know. Sad. I was saying yes to something you said, Eva. Yeah. Let's see. Which could happen, yes, for sure. Julie, this feels like a conversation about mechanics versus feel from the horse's perspective versus the human's perspective. Yeah, maybe. Good, Michael. Good Michael training. Good mechanical training doesn't teach them to feel back. Lots of rewarded tries teaches them that seeking is good. I think what Julie said is true for any of our animals or even our kids. If you shelter your kids to a point where they cannot function in the real world, what favor did we do to them? So this is well, of course. And I would say also, like, the premise being that there's I don't know, there's to me there's a little bit of a difference there. But and I guess I would say too that I see the opposite. Sometimes there's a conflict where people maybe misunderstand perhaps what I'm doing in the sense that they think that I'm not teaching my horse anything, so then they try to do it like that, and then you're like, well, your horse doesn't know anything, and they look at my horse, and but my horse maybe can do specific things, but the way that I got there is not the way that you but they still have to move their feet when I say, they still have to be directable. They still have to understand what I mean by certain things. It's just that understanding is the premise is different from the beginning. And I'll give you so one of the things, you guys, that is like this is just a tiny example, but it's also a very stark and obvious example. For instance, sorry, am I back?
Yes, you glitched for a bit there.
Yeah. I would not take my horse out of the stall or send my horse out of the stall. I mean, it's fine. It's of course faster to clean if they're not in there. But the thing is, you're missing so much of an opportunity to move around on a field, to get connected on a field. But you have to have the time to do that. You have to want to do that. You have to be conscious about it. It can't the most important thing in that moment cannot be cleaning the stall. So it's just a different way of thinking about things, right? Or for instance, if you want your horse to hook onto you and come in from the field or leave their friends or at liberty or whatever, well, if that's the most important thing to you, then getting them in or getting them from A to B cannot also be the most important thing to you. And that's so I guess what I'm saying, it's not you don't have to you don't necessarily have to choose like does the horse come in or not? It's like the horse is going to come in, you know. Uh let's see. I think what Julie said is true for any of our animals or even for our kids. If you shelter your kids, oh, sorry. Yeah. I think you missed my comment. It's after Katie and Julie's. Oh, this guy is Epstein. Oh, Lord have mercy. Oh, these bots are so crazy. I wonder who is programming them. Eva, I lost it. Where is it? Continue, Michael.
Continue with what? I wasn't saying anything. You were.
I know, but I feel like you were saying you would remember something, and then now
Oh, that
you.
was a long time ago. I said it already.
Oh, you did. Okay,
Yeah.
Eva, I don't see it.
Yeah. I looked back too. I didn't see your comment, Eva.
Anyway, Lisa, I completely know what you're saying. I'm just not sure. Okay, but Lisa, are you saying it's not logical, or are you saying we have to choose, regardless of what we have to give up in terms of maybe the metaphysics that are possible? It's our responsibility to cause them to, just in case we they do have to go somewhere else. Even though I think my horses could all be easily trained by someone else. It's not like they're orangutans or something. It's just the training is not the same, so that you would have to start from whatever you start with.
So,
They're not trainable,
and then that's back to the Tom Dorrance lore
but I'm not.
is it doesn't mean that it's going to be anybody could walk out there, grab this horse as casually as Tom could, saddle it up, get on, ride, and do what Tom just did. But it would be much more accessible for one to do that.
Yeah, but probably someone's going to go out there and be like, he didn't teach this horse anything, because yeah, it would be more accessible, but how much more? I don't know. I see your. I mean, I get your point. I get your point. And and like I said, even a year ago, I would not be in this place of questioning this situation. I would have maybe thought that if I do a good job, that much more of this education and operability would transfer. Even though, once again, logically, it doesn't make very much sense, because we've all had the experience of being able to ride a horse and get a horse to do certain things and be comfortable and all that, and then someone else can't operate them at all. Okay, so if you just continue to extrapolate and you start to be like, okay, well, this does actually make sense. So Lisa says, I'm just referring to everyday situations, something having to, these guys are referring, of course, to Revlon, which nobody else can catch. But let me tell you, I bet you it takes about 10 minutes for where she's going for the person to be able to catch her. I'm just referring to everyday situations, someone having to catch your horses in an emergency. If the horse is sick or injured, you're out of town, or you're injured. Yeah. Meaning you were thinking it's probably a good idea that I didn't have to go out there with a broken collarbone and halter Prim one handed. Okay, but all I'm saying, on the other hand, it's like, how fucking cool is it that she came to me, put her head down, and let me halter her with one hand in my teeth? Like, that's what I want. I want that over anybody being able to catch my horse. Now, if we're saying it's an animal welfare issue, and so I have to give up that fineness in order to have the deal, I'm hearing you. Uh, yep. So this is what Lisa says. So maybe you have to give up some of your dream relationship. Yeah. Referring to just Revlon. Yeah, Lisa says exactly. Yeah, I'm very resistant to that, Lisa. And I have to say, If indeed I do come to that conclusion,
Read her next comment.
super cool, but not practical or even like I do think this is exactly the point, right? This is exactly the point. I would say a couple things. Um, it will take me quite a while to get over seeing what I've always dreamed of and feeling it and having to give it up. I will grieve for that because this is what I've dreamed of since I was young. I think it's what I don't know. I could say a bunch of other words, but that's enough. So I will grieve deeply for the loss of that. Mhm. And certainly that's why we're at the end of me um making horses for anybody else or handing horses off purposefully to anybody else. Um and we could be winding down to the end of me teaching at some point, just because this is the whole purpose I've been heading towards. I don't give a fuck about what I can do with the horse's feet or what anybody else can do with my horse's feet. This is what I care about the most. So it will be quite a grieving process to have to choose not to not to have it. So Lisa, she says, I worry every day about my animals if something happened to me or to me and Jim. Yeah. And see, the thing is, I don't really worry that much about my horses in that way, just because I do think anybody could train them, and every single horse is actually catchable. But not, they're not going to come up to the person the way they do to me and put their head in the halter. Okay, yes. But it's not like they're uncatchable. It's just not going to work the way it does for me. Lisa says, of course, I would love to have the dreamy relationship. The black stallion is one of my favorite. Well, what if you were touching that? What if it was just right there? And all your friends were like, you can't do it that way. That's not responsible. That's not okay to do. And maybe you're right, but it hurts me to, and I haven't even decided I'm going to do what you guys are saying. But in this moment, to even consider giving it up is heartbreaking and quite shocking because you don't, as you're building towards this dream, and you guys know this is, I mean, I've been in hard pursuit of this. I mean, I would imagine a lot of my friends are in hard pursuit of that. But anyway, that's a sad note. I don't know what else to say about that, but I guess this is pretty clearly, it's like they're saying, yes, you have to give it up for the good of the horse. I mean, that's what's being said. So there's that. Julie says, I think you can be the specialist person to a horse and teach them to be open to other people. There's nothing to give up. I respectfully disagree. I don't think the horse has to be closed off to other people. That's not what I'm talking about. But yeah, Julie, I think that if you were in a situation where you were the one living with your horse and taking care of your horse, uh, and Julie does an incredible job with the horse that she sees rarely. But I just wonder. Anyway, you could be right. Everybody could be right. I could be wrong. I at least get credit for being honest about it, right? No, Michael Slacken.
You don't get to decide if you get credit. That's like I'm
Give up.
funny.
I
Well,
only
you don't get to decide if you're funny. That's up for everyone else to tell you.
Mhm. All right. Well,
Right.
that's it. That's my ultimate vulnerability. This could be the last show. It makes me just want to go do my own thing for a little while so I can decide. And partially just because you have to meditate a little bit. And especially when I'm not really confident that anyone else has experienced this, honestly. I mean, that sounds extremely hubristic, but
Everyone's an individual, and everyone's, because of being an individual, hunting something just a little bit different.
other people have goals, practical goals. Whether it be learning to prepare horses for the public or learning to go out and compete or wanting to go out and do more things. And from knowing me that my singular focus has been this. Everything else has been a means to get to this. So now to be here and to be facing a real question as to whether this can be pursued as wholeheartedly and singularly, or the fact that you would get to this precipice and have to go back sucks.
Well,
See,
yeah.
Lisa says, I don't think you're wrong, just maybe not practical. I know, but Lisa, oh my God, we've spent so long pursuing this dream. I mean, okay, we all love the book Kinship with All Life. I mean, I don't want to go back. I don't want to give it up. What about this? What about if I just take a year to just go whole hog on this? And we just calculate that I lived through it. Sarah.
It's not you living through it, it's your horses living through it.
Yeah, but I mean,
That's what everyone's that's what
nobody cares
everyone's
about me. I just mean that I will survive to take care of them, is what I mean. You know. Thank you for being involved. It's been some good discussion and deeper thinking. Well, thank you guys for being safe enough to talk to about this. Um, Even Michael's squinting at me.
I already said, give me a few months.
Well, one of my questions, you guys, that you could report back on: what if you s- knew for sure that you would live for as long as your horse lives and always be able to handle any situation? Let's just imagine we didn't have to plan for some sort of variable emergency. What would you do differently? And what could you touch? If you just let all of that float away. Corey, which part of Julie's thing do you agree with?
You don't have to give up what you're talking about in order to.
Is that what she means?
Mm-hmm. I think so.
Okay. Are you talking about me giving it up, or are you talking about you can have both? Is I guess what I'm.
You can have both. She's saying one does not have to give it up. I think that's what Julie said a bit ago. You don't have to give up that feel, following a feel that's unique in order to also have the horse open to another. She's she's agreeing with Julie on what you said you respectfully disagreed with Julie on. I think Corey
I would
clarified.
guys to show me that you can have both. That would make me feel better.
All right, there's your challenge, Corey. I'm not the one pushing back because I didn't want to hear that challenge. You guys brought that shit on yourself, Julie.
Oh
Good,
my,
good luck you proving it, Julie, because your horse is not in your backyard. You're not even set up to try.
that's right. Julie's off the hook. The dance of seeing and knowing each other as deeply as it is possible. Okay, Eva, how would you feel if you knew what your dream is, because you and I have the same dream, is possible, and then you were told that you had to give it up? Now these guys are backpedaling on giving it up, but let's just say,
No,
just
none of them are backpedaling that you have to give it up. They're just saying in more
well,
defined terms, you
if
don't
you,
have to give it up.
this is of course the as if I would be, even in this, you guys think about it. Do you think I would be having this conversation at all if I wasn't at least partially experiencing needing to give it up? I've been operating on the premise all along that you don't have to give it up. What I'm giving my share of experience that I am running into this choice.
And everyone's saying it's a perceived choice. You haven't figured it out yet.
That is what they're saying. And I would just ask
You're
you
just saying, I'm not sure that's how it's
ask
going to
everybody
work
to
out.
consider if they feel like they have enough information to say that. Eva, let's see. I don't think I would listen to them.
Julie said, I am going to be pissed if you both just disappear on us.
Um, so Eva, even if
Sorry.
people are telling you it was an animal welfare issue, it's hard because it, like, in this moment, I can't decide if they're right. But I respect these guys.
Well, you did say, well, let's hypothetically make all that go away. The potential for your not being there. You have another life. You're not like, or not another life. You have other things in life. You're not always there. You also have the vet and the farrier. Like, imagining those things going away does not make those things go away.
Vet and the farrier are never going to be that big of a problem because you can always be there with them if you need to. And it can become so benign. It's so utilitarian, you know? It's like,
But
and I,
what Lisa's saying is you can't always be there. There's a fire, you can't get
that's
there.
what I'm saying.
Whatever. I mean,
That-
so if you say like magically imagine this going away, you
But I'm just saying,
okay,
it's a
good
thought
imagine, but
experiment. I know,
huh?
just thought experiment though.
Well, yeah.
Not to operate under that, because obviously that's not true. So Corey, you missed my comment about Prim and I and Dayton. Oh, hi. I don't think I'm seeing them all.
Yeah, some comments aren't coming up because I never saw Eva's comment she was referencing.
Yeah, so sorry, you guys, but you might have to say it again. Um, two of my comments didn't go through. Can
Yeah.
you try it again? Um,
Julie said, I'm going to be pissed if you both just disappear on us. You missed that one.
even if it was just temporary. Corey says, you missed my comment about Prim and I at Dayton. I was able to do things with Prim there. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this is what I'm saying. It's like, I just don't think I'm handicapping the horses. But things were not as easy for you as they were for me, and that is not my priority. My priority is not to amalgamate her to the point where things are just as easy and seamless for you and one of the 4-H kids that's cleaning the stall, and you know this quote unquote that anybody can handle them, anybody can do things with mine. It's like, I already tried, but I'll try again.
Yeah, I
Nope.
mean, I don't think any of us, I mean, that are engaging in this conversation at this moment.
Yes, I already tried, but I'll try again. Let me know if that went through. I don't see anything else. You might have to text me. Sorry, Michael, go ahead.
I don't know if anyone who's been on the chat here and part of this discussion right now would say anyone.
She did say it. Said it. She said
Who
it in
did?
text, straight up.
Who?
Lisa.
Anyone can, but again, they're saying handle the horse, not get on and ride the horse.
Right?
Like,
Lisa, am I correct? I believe that you wrote in text, I want anybody to be able to ride my horse. Yes, we're not talking about the thugs, obviously. I believe that is what she said. Maybe that's not what she means, but okay, so again, that is
then when we're talking animal welfare, if we're getting down to, and then maybe there is backpedaling there to, well, at least animal welfare.
I know you live
Yeah.
down the street. I know what you're saying, but it's degrees. See, Lisa, this is the thing. It becomes degrees. So you're like, well, it's not going to be a thug. Well, it's not going to be somebody mean spirited. Well, it's not going to be somebody that only knows how to kick and pull. Well, it's not going to be somebody that doesn't listen to me. Well, it's not going to be da da da. Da. Okay, so then you just keep going. Is all I'm saying, Lisa. Is like, at which point do you say, well, I'm going to let my horses, I want my horses to tolerate this level of skill? Where do you draw that line? That's perhaps Eva. My goal for Moonshine is not that anybody can ride him, though Gianna really, really wants to. But if he doesn't feel to a certain extent how I want him to feel, things are going to go downhill fast. Mhm.
I think she also means there, maybe clarify, Eva, if what he's feeling doesn't feel
I know what you mean.
the way she feels. Yeah.
Hmm. So riding Peppy, for instance, I'm riding her for how I want her to feel, which is meeting feel for at least me doing my best offering her feel. But when is someone else going to get on her? Yeah, it's going to suck ass. That's what I say. And your little horse is just Christina. Christina. I think I don't know. Thank God she's owned by Christina. Christina's gonna like hang in there until the right.
She's for sale, though.
I know, but I just don't think she's just gonna
Oh,
go.
Christina is going to hang in there until she finds the right person. Yeah.
Yeah, Pepita's just gonna be like that. Pepita's a good example, in my opinion, of a horse that you almost don't have any idea how educated she is. Because Eva makes the two of them together do X, but I don't think it really has anything to do with anybody else. And Eva, that's the dream. But watching you with her was both delightful and a little bit like, this situation is fucked. I'm so sorry. But here's the thing. That doesn't mean that somebody who wants to come up to a level that works for that horse can work for it. And the horse maybe comes down quite a ways, and the person comes up some, and they can get along. That's it. I don't think, Michael. Okay, so this is we're gonna have to get to the end of the show at some point, but that's what I'm saying. I do think you can always bring the horse down and the person up to some degree, and you will find some sort of a working situation. Now, the person can't be totally out to lunch, and the horse can't be like, the horse in the field, like the Tom can rope off of. Like the fact that Tom can. I've seen Gary do this all the time too. Gary does things with horses that has nothing to do with how educated the horse is. He knows how to educate a horse for the public. But what Gary can do with his horses has nothing to do with their actual education the way we would think of it.
Hmm.
It's just like, so this is my point. The product is not just better, it's actually different. That's my premise. Corey, your horses are just grossed out when someone approaches them without trying to see them. But if someone has that relational intent, they can function fine. That's a great point. I hope. Okay, so Corey, am I off the hook? Am I free to just run wild then? Eva. I mean, Eva, I'm I'm not even kidding you. That is what crossed my mind watching you guys together. I'm like, it's like a hologram. Like people can think that horse and but see on the other hand, it's like, well, she does know a turnaround. She wouldn't have known that. She will learn a flying change. She wouldn't have known that. She does, she is gymnastically stronger. Those things you can't take away from the horse, right? They've seen a tarp, they've never seen a tarp, been in a trailer, never been in a trailer. Like those things you can't take away. Go crazy. Corey. It's it's a little bit like doing drugs, right? Go ahead and do the drugs, it'll be fine. It's just one night. Um, anyways, but I don't think that means the horse is ruined. That's an important part to get towards the show. I think that there could be an element of the horse being in jeopardy, but it's a good point, Corey. But see, here's the thing. What is the like if there was an emergency, Corey could catch all of my horses. Not in they might not run up to her or you, but that doesn't mean that's who's going to be here in an emergency. It's alternating forms of rage and grief in having to step or to not, or even to worry about it is in, especially when, how fun is that you're operating in such a different room, it has nothing to do with anybody else. We're getting to the end of Michael having anything to say, which generally means he has something to say but isn't going to say it publicly. So there's that.
No.
All right. Well, who else has a comment? That is all I have to say, I suppose. But I'm hearing what you say. Uh,
Well, everyone is, our number have expressed appreciation for your going crazy and getting off the chain and causing them to think, reflect, process something through a different lens or through, consider something additional. So,
mhm, mhm.
Sarah said, I think that's what some people are trying to say. I think some of the comments are trying to say you can keep the part where they run to you but are catchable by someone else.
I think that's the case. Whether or not it's easy for a person, like it's going to be a 2-second deal, I don't think. And I also don't think they can't get in a trailer or be doctored or have their feet done. But
Well, and that's the thing. You're moving.
so, Sarah, are you saying that I can just not worry about it? Because if you guys are also saying that if you do a good job with what I'm talking about, then your horses will be catchable and handleable and doctorable and rideable. I
And
don't know.
you're saying I don't know. Well, and so back to the horse that maybe isn't sort of catchable, but it's one person. I mean, Tofera came and Jenny, she'd walk right up to Jenny, could catch her. Jenny's husband, not really a horse person, but is around the horses all the time. And like has relationship. They have no fear of him, but she just kind of fade away unless he waited for her to kind of do that last bit of approach. Well, now I can march right up there. I I don't know. I think I've done pretty well everything with her up to this point, but I can send pretty well anyone out there to get her, and you can get her. Then you have a horse like Boxer, who when I first met Michelle was like absolutely getting close. You go to reach for him, he's gone. And that's still there. Like there's times where I'll walk up to him and I'll be like, all right, I'm gonna pause right here, let you know that I'm not just gonna grab you, give you a little scratch. But he is like, sometimes I'll go out there and he's just like, I'm gonna follow you around. Are you gonna let me through the gate to go into the barn with you and like hang out and lay in the sand? But absolutely he's that way with Michelle. So has Michelle systematically or super intentionally taught him to be a certain way with other people? No, she just was herself, and with a little information and just being herself was completely attractive to him, feeling safe with her and feeling cared for and seen by her and all that. That, I mean, they're just glue, right? He wants, like, Michelle was joking the other day. Oh, great. Now that no one's here, she can leave the barn if it's busy because they live just through the woods and they often walk here. She can leave the barn if it's busy, or like in the winter, if it's cold and they do hike through the snow over here. If the cat's inside, she can get away, no problem. But if they leave the barn in the evening and no one is at the barn and they go walking back, the cat follows them. She's like, oh man. So she's actually had to come back, sit in the barn, leave the cat there, and Thomas had to drive over to pick her up so the cat doesn't follow her home. So yesterday I was joking because there weren't many, like Steph and I think Jody were there, but it was late and the cat was sitting on the post like a little lion at the front of the public library. And I was like, Michelle, when you walk along the pasture there and head off into the woods, just don't talk and maybe she won't notice you're leaving. And then when you get in the woods out of earshot, you can talk. And so Tom and Michelle are leaving. I don't know if they weren't talking or not. They were far enough away. Wasn't hearing them. But the cat's just like watching them go. Well, it was over her shoulder because she was looking at the barn and they were being, but she's like over her shoulder going like, all right, Michelle, you might as well start having a conversation because the cat is glued to you. And if she's going to follow you, she's going to follow you. She already knows you're there. So anyway, so that to say, all the animals like Michelle's energy, like I've said in the past. But the reality is through that, Boxer is now comfortable to where not just anyone, like um someone with meat cleaver hands, like
Yeah.
Lisa was saying, is just not going to be able to get in there and just grab him. But pretty well anyone at the barn can just walk up to him and give him a little scratch and catch him. So did she train for that? Does that take anything away from what she's doing? No, but that's also not what you're describing in terms of the level of development from the get-go all the way to the highest levels of operating on a feel or starting on the level of operating on a feel where there is never that duck away, but no one else is really has your feel. So it's different, but I do think that back to the Tom Dorrance thing, back to the gorilla thing, back to the wolves thing is a little bit, I don't know. But the more they interact with you and the farrier, even if that is utilitarian and benign, like it's still someone else coming in, having an interaction. You're moving toward more and more availability to where that horse is more trusting of people in general. And if you say my horse is still trainable, like it won't take too long to adjust, I think that will always be getting smaller. Maybe, maybe not.
And
Maybe it's
then
getting, maybe at a certain point it's getting bigger. That distance, that time frame that it would take someone else because it is so refined. And that's I think what you're questioning
and the
in
thing
your mind. Maybe that makes it harder for someone to train. Or but again, then it depends. Like if
I
you
part
disappear and Kip's handling her versus, where I am or Corey is or your neighbor is. I mean, it's just all going to be relative to, some are going to fill in and
and
bridge that gap much more easily.
the biggest thing that I see happening is like, let's say the horse seems like it can do all these things, and then the person coming in, um would have to start from more towards the beginning and build, and then however fast they can build, right? But a lot of times a person will come in and they'll be mad or frustrated or judgmental or whatever. It's like if you were to just calibrate from zero, you would be a lot farther along than just seeing what the horse can do for me and then assuming that horse is going to at least do like a huge percentage of that. It might be zero, but you could click along probably. Well, the
Mhm.
other thing about the farrier and the vet is just like anything else, or like a specific trail or whatever, the animal learns to memorize that particular situation. They might be tied in the same place, they might be, doctored in the same place, they might, and so it's the situation then that they learn that is safe. But if you were to take them somewhere else, you know, without their somebody that they trust or can offer them support, the situation may or may not be different. Which is why, you guys, we see this all the time, where a horse then learns to amalgamate, right? And they seem really broke and they seem that everybody can handle them and they seem da 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 da. But given the right circumstances, there actually isn't any support. And then the horse loses its shit. And there's no way to handle it because the horse has never been. So that's the double edged sword, though,
Yeah, and that gets back to, can you support your horse?
Jody.
If you can't support your horse, is any horse? I mean, even if we're not talking the highest levels of it's all in a feel, it's started on a feel, it's so unique to you. It's like, is the horse supportable? Period. Can you support that horse? Period. Like, is the horse broke if it needs support? Right? I mean, that's the level that some people are gonna operate. Forget feel.
That's a
Right?
great point. That is a great
My
way.
horse, my horse is broke because we can go down the trail without any support.
Mhm.
Whereas my horse is broke if I can go down the trail and I'm there for support and I have to do minimal support. But I still am there to support. Maybe this horse is really touchy.
Or maybe the fact that we're together is the support and is
Yeah.
enough support.
But someone else who's not there, yeah, and the support is just the confidence of the rider, the focus on we're going somewhere. The As opposed to someone who's just distracted or bumping on a rein or isn't aware of the horse being apprehensive of something and enough for you to go, you're good, you're fine. And that's all it takes.
Michael is the king of that in sketchy situations. He's so matter of fact about supporting the horse. It's awesome. I wish I could do that.
There was something the other day where the horse did something wild. And I was like, that
That
was fun. Emma would have hated that.
Yeah, but I love that you love it. So
I can't
Jody,
remember what it was.
we'll think about it for a second. Jody says I can see that gross look on Indy's face when with well, she's not interested in what they're offering. Some people are a big nope, and she'll actually leave. And when some people approach her, or or like when you see someone walk towards your horse, even, and you're just like, "Ugh." because just the way they're moving across the ground, you're like, oh, it's giving me the heebie-jeebies. Let alone my horse like starts to go like that. Well, the horse isn't broke. It's like, or you're creeping across the ground like a monster.
Yeah.
Well, she should
Well,
learn.
that's
She
a
should learn
Corey.
to ignore
That's
that.
what Corey said. If you keep going, just know that you'll always be dissatisfied watching others with your horses on some level.
But I don't know, because sometimes you look over and the horse will look at you. You've had this experience, I'm sure, millions of times. Eva, for sure. When the horse looks at you to be like, "Are we good?" You'd be like,
Are you
"Hmm."
sure I'm supposed to go with this person now?
Yeah,
Are you really leaving me?
they will look at you to see, and it's just, I'm sure they're just scanning your body or whatever. And if you were like, so if you want to throw up in your mouth, I never understood what Buck meant when he said that. If you gotta hide it because your horse might freak out. So you gotta just look relaxed and chill and keep smiling. Okay, Gabrielle says, Farah comes up to me every time I go to the pen to get Carly. I'm not trying to catch her, but she stands by me and follows me around. I think they can sense who they can trust and work with. Yeah, mhm, I would agree. Uh, Jody. Yeah, Lordy. What a pickle. What a pickle. The very thing that we say we've always wanted, or at least I know a bunch of you guys that we might have to ultimately give up. I suppose
Well,
like, for you, I
eh,
thought I'd never get this close, perhaps, is part of it.
you know, that's the yeah, that's definitely. And then I think it is also back to the question: is it possible? Do you have to give up one, or say your goal is for both? Right? You're saying, I don't know about that being priority because I'm not sure, but you can have both. But if your goal is both, to what degree can you access both?
Okay, and that is exactly right. And because even from the people that know and love me, sometimes lots of judgment about what I'm doing. So if the premise is you can have both, then shouldn't I be able to do this the way I'm doing it, and then magically the other thing will appear?
Well, and maybe, but you're kind of operating this conversation, at least as it started, that I don't think I can. And everyone else, you respectfully disagreed with Julie when Julie's like, I think you can. And you're operating on the assumption I don't think you can.
It's
So
not an assumption. It's just the more data comes along, the more I'm like, I keep having to make choices about how I'm doing things. And the choice is colored by, okay, but if I do it this way, it's only going to apply to me and this particular horse. If I do it this way, it will apply to many more people. So there is an actual choice, is all I'm saying.
what can you
That
give a specific example? Actual individual specific. I like this bot. That bot says, "What does what a pickle mean?"
a pickle. How would you describe that?
I don't think we need to explain it to the bot, but
Yes, we would a dilemma, bit of a sticky situation. Um, okay, for instance, this is a for instance. Like yesterday I caught Revlon, and but I did it in a way that I just waited for her to think towards me, and then I walked up and caught her. But if I had just done it without waiting for her to think towards me, it would have taken longer. But then again, she would have learned like you have to do it without thinking towards me first. Then I picked up all 4 feet, and but the way I do it is like she's hooked. Like there's a certain feeling in her body Like her body has to be just, but this would be like something you would just do just in the way I move her around. Like I just want her bones to like slot into a certain thing because she's thinking about it, and then she picks up the feet for me. But that's not the same as just kind of roughly being like, get stopped. Like, the farrier probably is not even going to be thinking about what the horse is thinking. They're going to be talking, they're going to be doing whatever, they're just, it's not a matter of clanging around. I'm not talking about the horse being afraid of like the stuff, but there's a relational aspect of that, like an awareness, right? That you guys are doing things together and not to the horse. So in that moment, I have a choice. Do I show her that she needs to tolerate stuff being done to her? Or do I use that opportunity once again to show her that we are meeting in the middle? So, yeah, I'm going to be able to direct her feet and then pick up her feet, but I'm doing it with her, not to her. So, I took off my big down jacket, you know, put it on the thing, did a few things, went back, ripped it off the ground. She's like, you know, I walk off. She slots into the walking forward the way that, it's a specific way to get your horse to walk off. Can't just be walking off. Has to be a certain thing,
Hmm.
which is like this. You're never gonna fucking be able to explain it to somebody else.
Yeah,
So
but you
then now
try.
someone just walked off with her. That's not what I'm preparing her to do.
Hmm.
So she walks off like this, like water, like that. Then you can swing the thing over her back. But I did not prepare her to just have it ripped off the fence and thrown over her back. That was not preparing her for that. Would she be a little bit more apt to handle it because she's seen a fluffy coat? Probably. But did I specifically educate her to any of the parameters that are going to add up to that? I didn't. And that's the moment. Like that is the choice. Over and over and over again I come up with these choices.
So it's a matter of, in that case, not. I mean, are you intentionally not preparing her
Oh,
intentionally in advance, or are you saying intentionally not making it a thing in the moment and just letting the flow? I mean,
I
yeah.
I want her to be conditioned to have her mind go first and her body second. I want her to be conditioned to hook on and then do something. So I guess, in the end, I guess the dream is always like, well, in the end, the horse is just going to still be able to tolerate somebody just doing things to them. But I'm not interested in deviating to be like, okay, so now for part of our session, I'm going to condition you to tolerate having stuff done to you, where the person has no clue where you're thinking, doesn't care, and is just getting a job done. Like, I don't want to do that in that moment. I don't want to give up any of my time to do that. There's so many more cool things to be felt around for in the time allowed. And I suppose the premise is, well, you're going to have to give up those moments, that time. And but I just crave the horse not knowing anything different because it's such a different premise. Like, I want you to be okay with stuff being done to you, even though you kind of go, well, that is the deal. But especially like with Rebel and something so young or anything clean, I guess, because Hope is similar. And she is definitely not clean, but there's a ton of open water. Hope's a great example. She's broke. I got her from someone else when she was 4 or 5 or whatever she was. Um, but that mare is so sensitive, so sensitive. And the last thing I am interested in teaching that horse is to tolerate anybody doing anything to her. I want her to think about that. It's like just flow to me like water. But that's not making her tolerate other people crashing around her any better. It is, I
Mhm.
don't think. Maybe it is. Maybe, I mean, that's the dream, right? I guess what you guys are saying is that's the dream.
Well, it's like exposure, not even to someone crashing around her in terms of interacting with her, but if, I mean, you could say, I don't want to face this much challenge because that's just too much for my horse and would inhibit the the bond because it's just, you know, I don't want to go to that environment because there's too many other external forces acting upon my horse that,
Which is obviously not what I'm saying
yeah.
because the
But one
reality.
could say the same thing, right? Of you're saying I don't want someone to crash around my horse and say this is going to be done to you. Another person might say, well, I'm not going to put him in that situation where such and such is going to happen to them. This crazy chaotic environment is going to scare them. Why would I do that? That's, it's going to inhibit my ability to have this true bond that,
You mean preventing them, like not taking them into scary environments?
yeah.
Or not exposing, but that's not what I'm talking about, obviously. Because I am talking about actually exposing
I
the
know
horse.
you're not talking about it, but some
Oh,
might say, well, I don't want to. You're saying I'm going to have to give something up to expose them to other people, not on a field in the way you have the field going up and catching them, utilitarian, catching them and putting them back in the pen, or loading them in a trailer to get away from the fire. Feels like I might have to give something up to do that. Someone else might say, I'm not giving up what I have and risking my horse questioning all this by going to this event. Right. So that's where I feel like I have to give something up that I wouldn't want
of
to
course,
try.
I would not agree. I would say that it would enhance the situation.
Yeah.
It would enhance the deal. Yeah. So Corey, the thing is, Corey, how can you then explain the fact that Feather looked almost untouched? How you would have thought Feather would fill in,
Yeah.
and she didn't. Now, John got along fine, but he started from nothing, pretty much. So you think, okay, which I knew he could do, if that, but like you think, oh, hey, Revlon can do da 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 da. But I'm less convinced that it's gonna be like, well, that's where he'll be starting from. Like, maybe not. I don't know. So
Well, it's interesting. Yeah, and we better wrap here, but it's interesting how much or how frequently you get a horse going nicely, a training horse. The owner comes, works with the horse, and it's like, oh my gosh, the horse just does everything. Like, wow, my horse is in such a good spot. You're like, training's over. I'm just gonna take him home now. And then 10 minutes later, because the person's trying to learn something technical, be able to see something, watch for a little bit more rhythm, adjust something, and they're clumsy about it. They're thinking about one thing when there's a myriad of things going on that they might be better off to be watching for. And it all just begins to deteriorate. So it is transferable in some cases. and Revlon might just go, "Oh, okay, slot right in," but then to the degree to which it doesn't feel exactly the same, it's not going to unravel to the point of, you know, because she's with someone who's really going to feel of her, even if it is a little different. But they like go from, oh, this is familiar, to, oh, this is not the same.
And yes, of course, that would be the truth, for sure. And then you could say, okay, well, I'm going to expose her to a few of the people that I trust and that have the right frame of mind and whatever. And that's, of course, you should do that. Um, but you're still not educating them to, like, the most educating thing to do would be to expose them to people who are totally clueless and crashing around. As soon as they can barely tolerate that, like, get them
Mhm,
doing that. And I'm like, I don't even want a person that can't have their shit together to even look at my horse.
mhm,
And evidenced by the fact that, Revlon was pretty good for me, but probably nobody else is gonna walk up and catch her right now. There's a few, well, that's not true. But it wouldn't be an impossible task. It's just not gonna necessarily
yeah,
happen.
and I guess that's somewhat what I'm saying. Farah was just so beside herself. Like, we could go to the. Don't get distracted by Julie's comment. We'll come back to that in a second. The show is going to go so long. So that's what I'm saying. Like, Farah, you know, she shows up at this environment, and it's not like an expo with booths and other horses and balloons and all that. But she's just in our barn, and there's a lot more going on than at home, and she's just beside herself, and like, without some skill, she's just going to be careening around. Well, time passes, we work at it, we repeat, she gets settled. She has a hard time one day because it's a little busier. Next day is a little quieter. She's like, oh, this is such a nice day. All that. Pretty well now, someone else can bring her in, and I've operated as much on a feel as I'm operating with her. I'm probably not as intentionally operating on a feel to the level you're describing, but I'm also not intentionally going, well, I'm going to be clumsy about this. So that just results, right? Yeah, I also sometimes like, well, I don't even really pick up their feet, but you do all this and voila, they stand good for the farrier. Well, I never worked on picking up their feet and holding their feet. That's a result. So now we can go to Julie's comment, which I think is good. Emma, what if you're experiencing, or what if what you're experiencing is not the end game, but a glimpse at something bigger than we can even imagine? And what if the horses are here to expose us to this, not vice versa? And Corey cheered that. Comments?
My comment would be, Julie, like, I would imagine that's for sure the case, but so what do I do in between? But because this is the judgment, is like, you're not preparing for an emergency, you're not da 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 da. So it's like, well, how long is it appropriate to experiment? How long is it? I mean, how much latitude do I have? So if what you're saying is true, which I that is, what I kind of feel is true. But like, I hear other people being judgmental in probably a constructive way. So then, well, how much latitude do I have, and what decisions am I allowed to make along the way?
Well, how much latitude do you have? How healthy are you? How good is your fencing? Is it fire season or is it not? Let's run it this like an insurance policy. This is how much latitude I have because I think we're going to be okay, given all the factors.
All right.
I'm feeling like I'm on my last leg. I better be getting this horse used to. Or there's a fire really close to the house and the winds are picking up. I better get my ass in gear and get to where someone else can help me if I need.
Mhm.
So experiment away as long as you're feeling healthy and there's no fires in the area.
Yeah, here's another choice, you guys. Here's another choice. So I have somebody who has been cleaning my stalls, and that's really nice. And you know, who knows? Like Buck always says, you never know what that person is going to turn into. But I could choose to have that person handling my horses. I don't want them to touch my horses. It is like barely okay with me that they clean their stall. Well, you're doing the wrong thing, protecting them from that, da 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 da. But I'm like, "Oh, don't mess anything up. That mule won't even come near me." It's like, oh, that's not Emma's done a terrible job, because nobody can like. It's like, or I've left all the discernment in my mule, and when my parents come over, she's like, guys, when Oliver comes over, she's like, hey. But if somebody walks in, they're like, I know what I'm doing, she's like, see ya.
Do you?
Yeah, exactly. Feather came to understand, even if it felt different, and always will, for sure. Right. So, but see, this is my point, is like, I'm not saying it's impossible to build. That is not what I'm saying. I'm not saying I'm ruining the horse such that it couldn't be built in a different way.
It
Enjoy it.
just hurts your heart too.
Well,
Just
and
hurts. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So, and
Enjoy it, treasure it, keep on your course, but for God's sake, keep sharing your journey with us.
but you guys can appreciate how it's a little bit vulnerable, right? Because and you really can shed friends pretty quickly. In some cases, Michael's been around a long time, so this does happen periodically. At times it can, you know is where maybe it seems like you're on the same journey, but really you end up not being on the same journey, or having different priorities, maybe. But it can seem the same for a while, but then all of a sudden it's like, oh, actually, now that we have more information, it's like we are not on the same path. They're just fine, but you're just not gonna be able to hike, the same deal. And that's just part of it. And it's helpful if like the horse has always been the priority, you know. Um, but like I was telling Kip last night, I'm like, it's just really challenging to there's things that Daisy, what did she wants to play with the cat? And I always think to myself, like, I don't feel like you're planning ahead as to what it would be like if the cat wanted to play with you. Like, are you envisioning what this is gonna be like? Um, so and no is the answer, of course. So anyway, it's already like stretching all your brain cells to have this experience, and very disorienting in some cases, because like I said, in the moment it's like, no, I am not going to do this in a more abrupt, in a more like, tolerate, you need to tolerate, I'm gonna do things more shittily so that you can tolerate it. But that there is logic to that, I totally get that. But in the moment, whenever I'm faced with that choice, I'm like, no, I don't want to do it like that. Shedding friends, yeah. Susan, you know what I'm talking about. It's already painful enough to wiggle out of the skin you've been living in, let alone being like, and now I have no friends. But we always have our horses, so regardless, they will be there. But I know I'm being a bit dramatic, but I'm just saying it is very interesting. It is very interesting to consider these things, and I haven't made my mind up. Although every single time I come up against a choice, I keep making the same choice, which keeps leading to a specific result. And see, this is the thing. And like Corey, when I'm like, or I was gonna y- I was going to have somebody do something with my horse, and I was like, oh, she'll be fine. Like, of course you can do it. But it's like, hmm, maybe not. Like, I don't know. I'm less convinced after the feather thing. I'm less convinced after having to halter prim one-handed. So maybe I'm wrong.
Less
Or
convinced after recent conversations.
yeah, or yeah. And this is the other thing. When you extrapolate from the things that we all would agree on, I think everyone that's involved in this conversation right now, I would say that when we extrapolate intellectually from the things that we do agree on, I would think we could reach certain conclusions. So,
And yet, certain conclusions are influenced by certain experience, for
and
sure.
where I would be like, okay, you guys will show me. Show me a situation. Like, let's see, because if we do look at the people that say, anyway, I don't know. I don't know. And I think from what I'm hearing from what some of you guys are
Well,
saying,
yeah,
selfish if you want to continue down that road.
no
But
one
I
said it
guess,
was selfish. They're just saying don't be selfish.
okay, Harvard. Yeah. Yeah, that's like I asked these girls.
Right? So, what I just said, no one's saying it's selfish, but don't be selfish. It could be selfish. Okay, go ahead. Talk
We
to
just
these
don't have
girls.
maybe we just don't have enough information yet. That's possible too. And that's really difficult. I was thinking about that. Kip said, well, that's the pain of being at the bleeding edge.
Yeah.
The pain at being at
Well,
the bleeding edge is you don't have everyone to validate the
yeah.
experience.
And I think the shedding friends are at least the realizing you're not mm, thing is really rocking your world right now,
Hmm.
where you thought you think you're on the same page and then maybe not exactly.
Or not at all, and you're just like, holy shit. But whatever, we've been here before. It's all right, I guess. But if you're going to be an explorer, which I much prefer to be a follower, it's much more comfortable. But if one is going to be an explorer, then one has to be okay with being on one's own at certain points without all the information.
Can Yeah. I mean, almost the first thing you said in the show is if you're going to get what you're after, like, and what you've said you always wanted, like, you have to go it on your own. You can't be a follower into that.
Which means you don't have the
First of all, who do you follow? And second of all, it's so unique to you and the horse.
and then you don't have the validation of the group. In
So,
fact, the very group that maybe could have been supportive is now very not supportive,
mhm,
which is part of it too.
which is part of the willingness to have the conversation and having engaged in the conversation for years.
Well, and I
And
guess part of my willingness to do it is like I am genuinely trying to do the right thing, right? And I am genuinely not sure about the answers. And I am genuinely very clear about these situations that I'm in that are choices. Some people go along with horses and they're just kind of this blah mash of like, should I do X to get Y? Like, okay, but once we evolve past that, we're making intuitive choices, but then those choices become clear. And then you'd be like, okay, well, I am specifically choosing it to be this. And I'm willing to be honest about that. It's coming from a good place. Plus, my support is evaporating anyway, so who cares? They don't have a lot to lose. Katie says, "Thanks, Emma. I appreciate your bravery talking about all this. Criticism hurts at the bottom and the top of the mountain we're climbing." That's true. And also yeah, you're right. I mean, I guess you're right. But
Well,
the biggest,
if you know the specifics of their situation, I mean, the girls are hiking hard, and
yeah,
Katie as well, and in support of them, hiking rapidly ahead of her, as devoted as they are, young and hardworking and intuitive as they are. And they're facing a lot of crap up there, lots of direct, specific criticism that's like, you're so freaking clueless. And I think Katie said it earlier. I don't know if we read the comment. I don't remember exactly what it was, but basically, you're not even talking about the same thing. Not We're not even talking about the same thing. And she said, not us here in this conversation, but them and someone who's
somebody's calling in. You guys, our show is getting
and,
long.
and is and is criticizing them where they're at. I mean, it's
But the
kind
person
of ridiculous.
doling out the criticism, this is the thing. The person who is doling out the criticism is very sure that they are correct.
Oh yeah, someone has told. I'm not sure that Katie or one of Morgan or Wendy directly, but that the girls need to take lessons with her because the horse that they started is not going well enough, and they did a poor job. It's like, right.
So it's just degrees. It's just degrees of that. That's just all there is to it. All right, we're very long. My battery, which started at 100%.
My what just showed up as my alarm that's supposed to be like well after the show, reminding me to of my next chore that I always forget if I don't have an alarm. So
Well, I would appreciate you guys thinking about this as if we just as a thought experiment. What would you choose? And also,
if you had to choose, and I guess
yeah,
everyone's saying many people are saying they don't believe you have to choose, but if you had to choose, which would you choose? We all know where Eva sits. Eva, you better be careful, because if you're riding horses for the public, sitting there is kind of hard.
yeah, that is not true. I'll tell you that right now.
We'd kill each other. We'd hate each other.
Plus, we have the best spouses, so that would be
Yeah.
sad. All right.
We'd
So,
be in a pickle.
we- oh,
What a
yes.
pickle.
Okay. Well,
Anyway,
thank you guys. Michael and I will see you next Thursday morning at 6:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time.
8:30 Central.
Have a good week, everybody. See ya.
Bye.